Hey everybody, welcome to Season 11. I am doing my Season 11 Gnar guide for everybody, and we have a few updates and some matchups and buffs and bug fixes to go over today. And with that being said, let's head on over to Practice Tool. Okay, so we're in Practice Tool now. I have just about everything set up. We have a few builds, we have a few buffs, a bug fix, and a few matchups I want to go over. We'll start with the buffs Gnar has gotten. Gnar has gotten, I believe it was 4 buffs this patch. They buffed his Mega Gnar Q base damage, starting at rank 1 by 20 damage, and by the time you max it out, it will be 40 base damage more, which is probably the most impactful buff Gnar got out of all of these. It helps you with your wave clear as Mega Gnar. You one-shot the backline way more often. Earlier into the game with like roughly the same items you normally build, and then the slow on it as well has been increased by 15% at each rank. So put in reference, your mini Gnar Q at rank 1 is like what, 15% or something like that, and now it's gonna be 30% as Mega Gnar with your Mega Gnar Q instead of 15% as Mega Gnar Q, and that's equivalent to a level 4 Mega Gnar Q last patch, which it's insane, right? And then your hop range is being increased from 600 to 675, which I'll show you guys some practical applications to use that later on in the video. And then your mini Gnar E attack speed duration is being increased from 4 seconds to 6 seconds, which will let you trade way more aggressively. So those are the buffs Gnar has gotten. Gnar has also gotten a bug fix, which you guys might know about already. If you guys don't know, it's with your mini Gnar W. Once you hit 100 rage, you used to not be able to proc it because of the bug. I'm happy to say that we are finally over that bug. We can proc it at all points again, which is really nice. So we don't have to deal with the bug anymore. Gnar is buffed, he's bug fixed, he is really strong. He might be A tier right now, which is the highest Gnar has been in probably like 4 or 5 years in terms of like how strong the champion is. And on to the next part, we have a few builds I want to go over. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 builds, 6 builds. Alright, so first we have 3 bruiser builds. The first 2 I can do easily without needing to change my runes. The other one I'm not going to change my runes, but I'll explain why. So we have Triforce and Stridebreaker being 2 the best go-to in general items for Gnar. If you go to all the items and you go to your mythics, so Triforce will give you a ton more burst damage. It gives you on-hit move speed, and the longer you're in combat, stacking up to 5 times, you get more base damage pretty much, and that speeds into your spell blade a lot. And they just nerfed the damage on it, but it gave you more ability haste, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's still an insanely strong item, and it helps you push down towers really quickly. And with the rune setups, which I will be going over on my mobile fire guide right here, we are taking Hail of Blades, Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter with Bone Plating and Revitalize. We go Revitalize because it helps you sustain just a little bit more, makes it a little bit harder to kill, and we do build Lifesteal later on, and we do have Ravenous Hunter, which scales pretty well with Revitalize as well. We usually take Flash and Teleport for this build, because you want to be able to have map presence, especially when you have an item like Triforce. You can push down towers really quickly. And Hail Blades lets you stack up your Triforce really quickly. So right now I'm at 164.80. If I auto just those 3 autos, I went up to like a maximum of 197 after the 5 autos, which is just so much damage, right? A full build for this would be something like Blade of the Rune King, Cleaver, a healing item like Chempunk Chainsword, maybe a QSS item like Silvermere Dawn, and then obviously your boots, which you get probably second into the build. And this full build will make you really healthy. It gives you a ton of damage. You're at 324 AD after you stack your Trinity Force. You're at 357 AD, which is just a ton. Your Sheen procs are doing a ton of damage, and you just have so much push power and push potential with this build. Your next option is a Stride Breaker build, which is pretty different in my opinion from this build. The idea about Stride Breaker is you have a ton of catch potential, you have a ton of dueling power, and you're insanely fast, so you can run away from just about anyone, so you can really get a strong split going or really catch people out with it. So how I build my Stride Breaker build right now is I'm going Stride Breaker first. If I need to get tanky early, I like to build Deadman second, but at this point I just literally rush 3 Zeal items. Usually I go more Reminder third, because the healing cut is usually pretty relevant in most games. Then I go my Phantom Dancer, and then my last item, if I feel like I just need another quick power item spike because these items are super cheap, I can go Ruin's Hurricane because they just buffed it and it'll help you push out waves quicker. And you can literally just get multiple autos off, and then you also have insane move speed just running around in general because of all your items. You're giving you a ton of move speed. And you are able to duel certain champions still. Champions with higher bursts can be a bit difficult, but if you can kite them, you can kill them. I'd recommend avoiding champions like Aurelia, who wants you to be near them the whole time because they can just kill you by hopping onto you real quickly. Or Riven is actually really good. This build is really good into Riven. It's really good into. It's bad into Aatrox. It's bad into Set for the most part because Set is just too tanky to deal with. But if you can just outmatch them, like you can run bot lane real quick, then run mid lane, then run top lane. You just keep pushing out these waves. The enemy team just have so much trouble ending games, and you can just stall out games forever. And if they ever leave you alone for a second, you do have a lot of attack speed. You're at 2.08 at level 18. If you use your E hop, you'll have 2.45 attack speed, which is just about cap, right? This is like my favorite build to go to, and you can take it with 2 different rune sets. The first one is Hail Blades again. Hail Blades is a really strong rune set right now for Gnar. It gives you a lot of early damage, and it gives you Mega Gnar like high kill potential. But not only that, it's, hey, as soon as you auto, you can immediately get your W proc, reset a while, and then go back in again when it's back up or when you need to get it. The next, let's go over the Stride Breaker items that you can go. So, like I said, I prefer building Stride Breaker into Deadmans right now if I need to be a little bit tankier, because once you finish Stride Breaker and you are ahead, you can more than likely kill most people, and you just want to be able to survive. Afterwards, you want to get a better split going with more attack speed. So I like going more Reminder or Phantom Dancer. You can, if you're not a big fan of the crit items and you have the extra gold, these are stronger single purchase items, but these are only 2,500 gold compared to like 3,200 or 3,100 gold. So you're saving a lot of gold by going to the crit items, and that gives you way more move speed as well. This one gives you burst move speed though after 3 autos, so that's always something good to keep in mind. If you need more magic resist options, you do have your Force of Nature, or if you're just having trouble surviving magic bursts from like maybe a Diana or an Elise, maybe a Maw would be better, or you can just use QSS to get out of CC. I prefer Mercurial Scimitar over a Quicksilver Maw in this build because you want move speed, and since you already have some crit items, the extra crit isn't really a bad thing. It just makes your damage just a little bit higher on average. And then, or you can just go Sterex for more anti-burst. Like a full build, like I said, would be something like this. If you need a cheap option, I think Ruin's Hurricane is a very strong idea to build. And for the most part, you just want to take like Legend Bloodline, Fleet Footwork, Coup de Grace, Triumph, Demolish, or Bone Plating for the other rune set. This will help you sustain more, give you more in combat move speed if you don't really need the burst damage, or you don't, or Hail Blades isn't gonna be too great in lane phase. Maybe you're against a Teemo or a champion that can just like deny autos like a Shen, and Hail Blades just feels really bad into those champions because they blind you or they have abilities to deny autos. It's just really hard, right? So Fleet Footwork may be in better average against those type of champions. And again, the other option is Hail Blades too. The next build we're going to go over is the Gale Force build, and I only take Hail Blades for Gale Force. If you're going Gale Force, you want to be able to assassinate squishies with it. So let's sell all these items real quick, and we're going to build our Gale Force. We're going to, after we get our first item being Gale Force, our second item that I usually rush is Rage Blade. I think it's really strong, and it makes that use of your crit that you built already into on-hit damage, so it gives you 80 on-hit damage, which is a lot if you think about it that way. This item is 40% attack speed and then 80-80. Obviously, the AD doesn't get fed into your abilities, so it's more autos than anything, but that's okay. You're using your abilities for utility at that point. You're just using it to kite and try to kill people as quick as you can. After you get that, you do have a few options. I prefer going tank second or third item, so getting your dead man just to get around the map a little bit quicker, and then after that you can be a little bit more greedy. You can get your damage. I like going QSS in this build too because you have Rage Blade, and it gives you 80, it gives you on hit damage. It's a seriously strong item for this build. And then last item, you can get a more situational item like a healing cut, such as more reminder, again because you are building crit items. You have Rage Blade, so your late game, your Rage Blade is going to do 160 extra damage per auto. That's a ton, and you can literally just do stuff like this. And you just have so much damage output. You have so much assassin potential. You can even combo with your R, or you can jump to extend your jump, and it's just really strong in general. This build isn't great when they have multiple tanks and you're forced to build certain items like Cleaver. I don't really like building Cleaver too much with this build, but I do sometimes. Instead of building like my Mercurials or more Reminder, I'll place that with a Cleaver if I really need Shred. Or I can also go Lord Dominic's for another crit item too. Which is really good against HP stackers. But if I need to do percentage damage, which Cleaver does offer, I do have Rage Blade and it will proc it way more often. Cleaver is a higher damage option than Mortal Reminder, so that's something to keep in mind. And there is nothing too special with this build. You just take the same runes. Halo Blade's really strong with this build, and you can... I think the rune options, you can take Ignite if you think you can have a huge snowball potential as well, but I usually just take Teleport because having map presence is really nice. The next build we're going to go over is going to be Frostfire Gauntlet. So I like taking Grasp with this build because you just want to be as tanky as possible. Grasp will give you some extra HP and it lets you take stuff like Overgrowth and Conditioning. On top of Demolish will just help you get some extra golden lane. And I like taking Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter just to be a little bit more healthy in general. You can also take Coup de Grace if you want, and you can also take Tenacity if you just need to be anti-CC'd with flinching. But for the most part, I just take Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter. And you mostly just take Teleport, but again, you can take Ignite if you can Snowball as a tank, but more than likely Teleport is better. And your build options are going to be right here. Your core item is going to be a Frostfire Gauntlet because it scales so well on Gnar. It gives you extra HP for every legendary item you complete, and it lets you slow people on autos, which is really nice since you're a ranged champion most of the game. And after that, in my opinion, you should build Cleaver. Cleaver is really strong on Tank Gnar, so you're going to be surviving for a while, you're going to be fighting for a while. Cleaver is going to give you a lot of extra value. After that, you can build another damage item like Sterax, which will make you tankier, like a lot tankier. But it will give you some extra damage on top of your Cleaver. And then you can just build full tank afterwards, so you can get your a Randuin's Omen, maybe a Gargoyles just to finish out your build, and then you're going to be insanely tanky. You have a huge, like, 1800 point shield of Mini Gnar. You have a big slow from your Randuins, and you are just a unstoppable tank. Like, I don't even have Grasp on and Overgrowth, which would have given me maybe an extra, like, 400 HP total by this point in the game, and which would scale into your Gargoyle, scales into your Sterax, scales into your Randuin, scales into your E. And you are just a monster of a champion. And Grasp will actually do a lot of damage too, because it scales off HP as well. But like, you just get so big in this game with this. You can literally just stand next to a tower with this and just be like, I am as big as a tower. You can body block people really easily. You can just ult them and walk up to them and ult them. It's just such a strong tank build. But the problem is with the build is it's hard to snowball with. So I recommend if you're going to build Tank Gnar, you should duo with like a jungler who's playing a carry character, or a mid laner who's going to be coming to your lane a lot, where you can just abuse the enemy top laner by tower diving them over and over again, because since you're building tank, you can tank a lot more. That would be my recommendation for this build. But in general, this is a much better duo queue build rather than a solo queue build, so keep that in mind. The next build I want to go over is going to be Divine Sunderer. This is one of the rune builds that I would like to change my runes for, but it's going to take just a little too much time. So I'm just going to go over it. You do have 3 build options. Your first one is going to be Phase Rush with Nimbus Cloak, Absolute Focus, and Scorch. So you take Absolute Focus and Scorch because it's very lane dominant, and you want to be lane dominant when you take this rune set, because if you don't get a lead early, you're going to feel like a wet noodle for the most part later. But you are super safe, you're strong at splitting, and you can't be killed by a lot of champions you take this build into. So Phase Rush is a counter build rune, and what that means, it's only good against specific matchups. Those matchups are such as Darius. He catches you, he slows you, he activates Ghost, and he just runs you down. Well, Phase Rush says, no, you don't run me down anymore, I'm just going to run away quicker than you. You can also take Ghost into Darius. For Darius specifically, like, you can take Ghost. For Nasus and Tryndamere are the other 2 options. Nasus, he throws his Wither down on you, you can't really trade with him anymore, or he throws his Wither on you and he runs you down. It feels really bad. Phase Rush says, hey, if you Wither me early game, I'm just going to keep fighting you. If you Wither me late game, I'm just going to wait out the Wither and then come back and fight you more. And you can literally just waste Nasus' time so much with that. And then Tryndamere, as soon as he spins on you, you literally just auto-Q auto and you just start kiting him really hard, and you usually win the trade super hard early with that, as long as they don't get too many lucky crits, right? But you can like just keep fighting him early, like so hard. You can get E level 2 or W level 2 and just fight him even more. As soon as he spins on you, you can jump away from him and then just auto and just do so much damage. And it's really strong. The other rune options is you can take Demolish and Bone Plating, which I take more often into Tryndamere, because if he spins on you, you want to take as less damage as possible, and Demolish helps you get extra gold in the early game. And the other option, the other option was a scaling option. Oh, there it is. Wait. Yeah, here we go. Which is pretty good into Nasus, in my opinion. You take Celerity just because you want the move speed pretty good. You take Gathering Storm, which will help you get so much extra damage later on in the game. And then you take Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter just so you can scale with higher HP throughout the lane phase. And then your build options for this is going to be right here. So for the most part, I always build Divine Sunderer when I take Phase Rush because it helps you just run around. Here, let me build this build real quick in the client. So you want to go your Divine Sunderer as quick as you can for the most part. It gives you 40 AD, 400 HP, and 20 ability haste, and its passive effect is a Sheen effect, which means every time you use an ability, your next auto does bonus damage. The special thing about this Spellblade though is when after using an ability, your next auto will do 10% of the target's max HP. So if they build more HP, the more damage you're going to do with your Sunderer proc. And it also gives you a mythic passive that every time you complete a legendary item, you get free armor and magic penetration, which is insane because Gnar's W is magic damage and it's a huge part of his kit. So this item will help you do more damage with Mini Gnar. It will help you do a lot more damage with Mega Gnar. You'll just be penning through a lot of things, right? So after you get your Divine Sunderer, you want to get Cleaver for the most part because you're going against tankier people. Tryndamere is the exception. You can go someone else if you really want to. But in general, Cleaver second is usually core for this build. It can give you a maximum of 24% more armor reduction. So combined with Divine Sunderer, just with these 2 items, it'll give you 29% armor reduction. And then after you completely cleave them, like max stacks of the armor reduction, every auto or ability afterwards will do additional 5% missing health physical damage. So the lower the HP, the more damage it's going to do, which is really strong. And it gives you a lot of ability haste too. It gives you 25, so just these 2 items have 45 ability haste already, right? So after that, you do have a few options. You can build more on the damage side with Death Dance, your Maw, your Starax, or a Rage Blade. Rage Blade synergizes very well with Cleaver. But if you don't build Cleaver or you want to be on the tankier side, I wouldn't recommend Rage Blade. So going Death Dance, Maw, or Starax is pretty strong. Going Starax is probably the more common route because it's just a strong item right now. And I'm not a big fan of Death Stance on Gnar, so I don't build it too often. No! Why did it do that? Okay, well, that's fine. I don't need to be in the game anymore for a little bit, I think, right? I can use this time to show another rune set too. So you can go Divine Sunderer into your Cleaver, into a Starax gauge, and then you can get like an Abyssal Mask to help even more if you need a magic resist option. If you don't need a magic resist option, Randuin's Omen and Deadman's is really strong. And if you need a tech item, such as a healing cut, Kempung Chainsword or Thornmail works very well. Thornmail works specifically amazing into like champions like Fiora, Tryndamere, you know, the champions that have to auto you to get their damage off. Nasus. But for the Nasus matchup too, Kempung Chainsword I prefer just a little bit more because you want to be able to kill him, not him hitting you. So, you know, the extra damage from Kempung Chainsword can be better for that. And this is also better against certain matchups like Vladimir, who can just heal you, or Silas, who can just heal without really needing auto. They use abilities to heal. And then you have your QSS item being Silvermere Dawn. This is the one build really where I don't build the Mercurial Scimitar, because I think Mercurials in general is better, but since you're building more on the HP side and you're already going to be fast, you don't need QSS move speed, so the tenacity from this will be just as great, and the slow resistance can be just as great. And like a full build, like on a heavier damage side, can look something like this: Divine Sunderer, Plated Steel Caps, Black Cleaver into your Death's Dance, Maw, and Deadman. So you're going a lot of damage with this side. You can also replace these two with a Deadman's and a Force of Nature if you really want to, or Randuin's Omen and a Force of Nature if you really want to, and it's going to be a very effective build. And then the other build, the last build I want to go over is the Eclipse build. So if I can get into game, I'll show you. Oh, here we go. Alright, so you can take Ignite with this build, or you can take Teleport. I took Teleport for this example because it doesn't really matter in Practice Tool. But, so, for this build, I always like starting Longsword, because you're not going to fight them, and getting the Greedier Star will help you get your items quicker, and it will help you do a little bit more damage. So, level 1 with the Longsword, you'll actually have 82 AD with this build. At max level with just a Longsword, you have 149, which is irrelevant, because you're not going to just have a Longsword. But, the idea of this build is, hey, you are going for a farm right here, right? This guy's going for a farm. As soon as he hits that farm, I want to throw my Q at him and back off. And my Comet's going to hit him, my Scorch is going to hit him, and my Q is going to hit him, and it's going to chunk him out for a decent amount. Do that 3 or 4 times, they're going to pop their first potion. Last set as much farm as you can, but don't take risky, don't walk up for risky minions that they can just engage on you on, because you want to stay healthy so you can keep your absolute focus up. On your first back, your goal is to literally just buy a Serrated Dirk. If you can buy a little bit more than that, buy an extra Longsword. Buy 2 extra Longswords. You don't really need the Vampiric Scepter this early, because, again, you're not looking to auto too much. You're looking to poke as much as you can. So you throw your Q out again. He takes more damage. You're going to have to only poke him maybe 2 times now before he uses his first potion, or if they even have potions. And eventually they'll just be so, like, they'll get chunked so hard from a Gnar Q that they just can't be in lane. You finish your Eclipse, and at this point you're like, hey, I want to fight. Eclipse will help me do that. As soon as you throw your Q, you back off. You wait for your Q to come back near off cooldown, and then you start autoing. Auto Q, auto, you get your shield. They take a huge chunk of damage. More than likely at this point, they're just going to run away if you have any sort of lead. And your Mega Gnar has insane burst potential. Like, I split my damage between these 2 targets, and I dealt over 3k damage total, right? Just with this one item, if they had 0 resist stats. And the best part about this build, you can build into tank, into assassin. I prefer building into a bruiser more likely. And you can build that easily by going Cleaver second, which will give you some HP, give you some more cooldown reduction, which will help you poke more often. It will help you shred with tanks more, since your Eclipse gives you armor penetration. And then you can just build like situational items, like a Kempung Chainsword. You can build your Silvermere Dawn. You can build a Stair Axe. And then you can just finish your build with like Ninja Tabs, which you get second, because you always want to get boots early. And with this build, like, I have 364 AD. I have a ton of sustain because of Eclipse and Ravenous Hunter. Like, and my auto Q does, you know, 1200 damage to this guy. And that's if they have like normal armor stats, because I have Black Cleaver. I have a ton of penetration from Eclipse, giving me 16%. So total, I have 40% pen just from this build. So it's a really strong build if into the right matchups. You can, if you want to snowball with Eclipse too, you can also just take Hail of Blades, the build I've been talking about earlier. And you'll have probably more success. But into the hard matchups, taking Arcane Comet and taking Eclipse can feel really nice sometimes. Like against Renekton, where you just want to poke him out and do as much damage as you can, and you want sustain, like a ton of sustain from Eclipse. Aurelia, you don't even want to be near her. You just want to poke her out. Shen, he's just so tanky. The proc from Eclipse is really strong. He gives you sustain too. Like the Eclipse build is actually pretty strong, given the right matchups. There are going to be way better builds for other matchups though, so don't just spam it into every game. It's not going to be the most potent because it is a situational, it's a counter item build more like. It's to help you survive. If you really want to play Gnar into this game and the matchups is really hard, consider taking Comet, consider taking Eclipse, and consider building like a more bruisery, high AD build like this, and you will have a lot of fun and a lot of success. I asked you guys a question, and my question was, what are the hardest matchups you guys have to deal with? And the 3 most popular answers, other than Malphite, I decided to exclude Malphite from it because Malphite is the #1 top laner right now, and in general, he's not like hard in general, but he is a bit overstated, so I just decided to take him out of this for the video because he should be nerfed, and he did just get nerfed. I think he should be nerfed again because I don't think it was a good enough nerf. But he's just too of an oppressive top laner because he's just overstated. But the 3 matchups you guys most commonly said was Urgot, Camille, and Aurelia. So I'm going to start with Camille because that's the most common top laner I play against out of the 3. I like taking Hail of Blades. You can either take Stridebreaker or Trinity Force. I think Trinity Force, if you're looking to kill him more often, it's going to be way stronger. But you go Hail Blades, you go your Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, Rapid Hunter. You want to go double adaptive stats because Hail Blades will let you get your autos off quickly, and you're just looking for as much damage as you can. And Bone Plating or Revitalize will help you survive the lane just a little bit more. You take Teleport every time against Camille because if you take one bad trade, the lane phase can be over if you don't have Teleport. And for Camille specifically, rushing your Triforce, rushing your Sheen proc is really strong. So first 700 gold, buy your Sheen. After that, finish your components. If you need to build, if you only have 800 gold, build the Kindle Gem over the other items. If you have 700 gold, build a Longsword and get Refill Potion. But like after your Triforce, consider building like a Randuin's early just because this item helps shut down Camille and help you tech against the rest of the enemy team. You can also get a Kempung Chainsword if you see him building any sort of sustain because Kempung Chainsword is insanely strong with Gnar, especially with Trinity Force and Hail of Blades. You'll get the full 60% very quickly. And after that, you can just build more on the normal side. You can get your Blade of the Rune King later. If you're snowballing into her, you can build Blade of the Rune King early. If you're not, you can build Black Cleaver too later on. But like, I'd go Triforce into Randuin's most of the games against Camille. And the way to trade against her is, if this is Camille and she is coming at you with her W, you just want to walk diagonal up towards her and keep autoing her. As soon as she uses her E to latch onto a wall, she's gonna hold for a quick second to see where you're gonna go. As soon as you think she's gonna move, you just dodge up or dodge down. Don't just keep walking in the same direction. You want to be able to try to dodge it. If you have to jump, go for the jump too, but never just like, oh, she's gonna come at me this way, don't jump that way, because more than likely your jump will get interrupted. And if your jump gets interrupted, it's gonna be a hard lane phase, dude. Post level 6, if you are mini Gnar, you should be careful of all ins, especially when playing from behind, because she can just 100 to 0 you pretty quickly, and you can't do much about it if she traps you with her R. And being pushed up can also be dangerous because if she traps you with her R, the enemy jungler can come and gank you for free. So those are just some tips for Camille matchup. The next one is Urgot. Urgot has very low kill pressure against Gnar. The only way he can realistically kill you is if you all in him and fuck up, or if he lands his E on you. And if he lands his E on you, your positioning just isn't that great. So to play the Urgot matchup, I'd recommend going more on the Stridebreaker build just to keep kiting on him. You can also go Divine Sunderer if you think he's going to be building tankier, but I think Stridebreaker is going to be really strong into him. And I don't want to take Hail Blades into that matchup. I prefer taking Fleet Footwork because you just want to be able to last out because trading with him can be a bit difficult sometimes. So if you take Fleet Footwork, take your Triumph, take your Legend Bloodline and Coup de Grace, and take Demolish and Bone Plating, you're just looking to push the wave into when you can, take a Demolish plate when you can. And then just build towards your items like Stridebreaker into Cleaver for this build probably, because you're against a Urgot, so getting Cleaver early will be really strong. So Stridebreaker into Cleaver and then building your more damage items like Blade Rune King or Phantom Dancer would be really strong. And you're just looking to hard kite the whole game. If you are looking to seriously kill him, you just want to auto him and keep walking to the side around him. Never get closer to him. If he's running away from you, just auto or walk towards him very slowly at a time. Don't overcommit. Don't get too close again, because if he E's you and lands it, it's gonna be a very bad day for you. You're gonna get out traded really hard, sometimes even die, even at level 6. And after level 9, his W will always be available to him, so that's something to be careful about. In lane phase, after he uses his W and it goes on cooldown, it's a good idea to look to trade with him, because he will lose a lot of damage out, because he gets off a lot of extra autos off because of that ability. And always be ready to sidestep his Q. So if you go for an auto, he's gonna literally Q right where he thinks you're gonna stop. So if you're gonna go for an auto, maybe stop and just immediately auto, or immediately sidestep then auto. And for the build for this guy, I'd prefer to go Stridebreaker into Cleaver second, because you want to. I already have Cleaver. Nice, didn't sell it. So the reason why is because Stridebreaker will get rid of some of their armor, because it does proc off a Cleaver, and then you can just like do that and immediately follow up into other abilities, and he's gonna be really squishy because of that. And you can just immediately go into your mega combo and just start hitting him for missing HP damage because you're Cleaver as well. The last matchup is Aurelia. I mentioned this before with the Eclipse build. I've been taking Eclipse into her recently, and the whole idea is I'm not fighting her. She can farm. She can have her farm lead on me. It doesn't matter. It will happen eventually anyways. And you should just go for as much damage as you can and just try to poke her out and get your Eclipse and just try to get some jungle help maybe. But if they're not going to help you, you just need to be able to survive. You need to stay as far away from her as you can. If she's in range of you, you can die. If you're going to teleport in your tower, make sure she's not ready to all-in you. If you're going to teleport in mid wave, make sure she's not in lane. Because, again, she can literally 100 to 0 you for free at any point if you're not careful. Aurelia is a very difficult matchup, and the last time I played against her, I did actually win against her pretty hard. And the build I went Eclipse Rush. I went Starax second, just because I want to survive against her. And then I went Cleaver. And then I went into Aranduin's and Chempunk Chainsword. And then I had Boots as my last item. So because of Randuin's decreasing her damage output and making her do less damage to me in general, because of Chempunk getting rid of her healing factor, because of Eclipse giving me HP and move speed, giving Cleaver giving me a lot of sustained damage, and Starax giving me some anti-burst, I was able to duel her throughout the whole game and just keep winning against her. There were some close calls in which I thought it should not have been close at all because I was so far ahead of her. But it just shows that Aurelia is a very scary champion for Gnar to duel. So this build, being able to play like a bitch most of the game, was very helpful, and I could just like literally poke her out and just never be near her. That one Q did 1,000 in damage. Holy shit, dude. What the hell? Okay. I think that is it for my Season 11 Gnar Guide update. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure to turn on the bell notification icon to be up to date with all the gnarly content, my dudes. Peace.